That they received no warning and that the flames appeared so quickly that escape was difficult.
People were running from flames and jumping into the ocean.
It was horrific. It was terrifying. It put me back.
The flames were coming over our vehicles.
There was a blockade there,
and all of a sudden all the roads were being blocked off right in front of me, and from the cops.
They're not allowing local donations through.
No one is able to bring help.
The response from the state DLNR was non-present in the water.
They're blocking life-saving medicine because it isn't federally approved.
They are not letting coverage into Lahaina.
He's saying it's a media-free zone. It's not. There is a First Amendment, there's a United States Constitution, and this is America.
More action, less words. Politicians more about words than action.
Survivors of the Maui fire say that they received no warning and that the flames appeared so quickly that escape was difficult. Everything was suddenly in flames, and many found refuge in the ocean for hours while their homes burned to the ground and into the same powdery ash footprint we've seen in recent years. So far, it is estimated that nearly 1,000 people have died. Locals are worried this includes hundreds of children who were home due to school being canceled that day. Several people are reporting that the government is not only doing little to help, but they are blocking local efforts to do so and are not allowing local donations through, and that they are blocking life-saving medicine because it isn't federally approved.
Denying people access to bring in supplies, just supplies for people to live.
the government withholding every single one of our donations because we are not a part of FEMA and Red Cross. So none of this is eligible for giving out. Tell me why? I have no freaking clue.
The people of Maui are on their own for now. And aside from the federal government's bureaucratic failure, they have good reason to be suspicious. Just like what we saw 5 years ago in Paradise, California, there was nothing normal about these fires. Within a day of burning, it was like a bomb went off.
When you see the full extent of the destruction of Lahaina, it will shock you. It does appear like a bomb and fire went off, if I may. And all of those buildings virtually are going to have to be rebuilt. It will be a new Lahaina.
Local residents have been reporting bright flashes of light. One was captured by a home security camera that appears to have been the start of the Olinda fire. Many people are saying that it was directed energy weapons. We know that most major governments already have them, and during the California fires, online weather maps recorded what looks like a laser from above, striking an area just before it bursts into flames. In his research, Dennis Mills discovered that the incendiary aluminum and barium nanodust from chemtrails is most likely fueling the ferocity of today's so-called super wildfires. And on the day before the Maui fires broke out, locals were reporting a heavy overcast from chemtrailing that they'd never seen before. It's also interesting to note that the Maui police chief was the incident commander for the Las Vegas mass shooting in 2017. Lahaina is considered to be a historic and sacred land. It was the capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii before it was taken by the United States. It's been occupied by Native Hawaiians ever since, who are defiantly opposed to the mainland outsiders who have been buying up land with no respect for local culture. Not just BlackRock and Vanguard, but billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, who owns more land on Kauai than what the government of Kauai owns, and Oprah Winfrey, who has bought over 1,000 acres of land in Hawaii, including a new 870 acres in Maui she just bought this spring. In 2018, the Paradise wildfires broke out exactly where the United Nations have plans to somehow make off-limits to humans. And that same year, a report on wildfire prevention was published that was focused on the exact same areas in Maui where the fires just broke out.
All the historic downtown, all of it is demolished and all the houses gone. But those commercial big box stores are still there.
Hawaii Governor Josh Green has been putting the World Economic Forum's Great Reset agenda ahead of Hawaiian interests. Just weeks before the fire, he unveiled an emergency proclamation on housing that eliminates the traditional Land Use Commission, allowing the government more leeway to build as they see fit, such as building 15-minute smart cities run by artificial intelligence, just like they've been planning to do in Hawaii for years.
At some point, I will make a major donation after all of the smoke and ashes have settled here and we figure out what the rebuilding is going to look like. This is going to be a long and difficult process. You're going to see a lot of Phoenix stories rising.
In my truck, going to check on some customers' properties, and all of a sudden all the roads were being blocked off right in front of me, and from the cops, and I would go to the next street and that would be blocked off, and the next one, and they just blocked everything off, forced everybody down on Front Street, in which then the flames were coming over our vehicles, not on our vehicles, but the flames are coming over top of our vehicles.
And what street are you on at this point in time?
Front Street.
You're on Front Street itself?
Yep.
So you got directed onto Front Street?
Yep.
Where did you start when you started this journey?
I was going down the highway and they blocked it off and wouldn't let me go any further.
So you were coming from Laniapoko?
No, I was coming from Waiakuli.
Why? Okay, so you're heading
going down the
highway. You're heading south.
And then they stopped us from going up on the bypass. Then they wouldn't let me go past the bypass to the other exits to go up there.
So you couldn't go up the bypass?
No. And then all of a sudden they said, everybody's get off this highway, go down this way, down into town. Then they started blocking everything off there, and then you were down on Front Street, and I got all the way down to Safeway. And
so you got corralled onto Front Street. You started on the Honopilani Highway.
Yes.
And you ended up on Front Street.
Yes. Couldn't go anywhere. They just said, go north, go north, go north. And then when we got on Front Street, the embers were coming over the buildings and landing on our vehicles. And we're all in a line trying to get to the end of Front Street to go north, like they told us to, not knowing that the police blocked off the end of Front Street so nobody could move. And then everybody panicked, and they all started everybody went up on the sidewalks and through yards, took out the other lane. And then all of a sudden nobody could move anywhere. So all I did was try to inch my way over to another yard and drive up through a sidewalk, come back around, and then the cops were moving around one exit, so I ended up getting up on the highway, even though they trying to direct me another way, and then I hightailed it to home.
So you basically had to climb up on sidewalks and go against what the cops were telling you could do. You had to break traffic laws, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
Right. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying the only way to do it was to cross that line, essentially.
Yeah, because nobody could move and nobody knew where to go, and I said, I'm getting out of here no matter what.
Right.
I went. And then they started following me, and then I got to my house, and
your house is where?
Waiakuli. It was right by the chart house, just across the highway.
Okay, okay.
And then I thought I was safe there. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. There was a fire downtown. Okay, I understood, but I didn't think it was going to affect everybody.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, our neighbor came over and said, you need to get out of here now. And we're like, what's going on? Because we didn't hear no sirens, no nothing. And then we found out that they didn't want to sound the sirens because that would direct everybody up onto the high grounds, which would have solved a lot of problems.
Like a tsunami warning would. Yeah.
They didn't want to confuse people with a tsunami warning.
How did you find that out?
Several people said that. Actually, they're saying it on the radio now.
So somebody made a call to not sound the siren because it would...
That's what we heard.
Interesting. But you did not get evacuated.
I even stopped at the roadblock to go to the other side to pick up supplies for people.
Yeah, tell us what happened that night.
So it was at Ma'alaya is where the barricade was, and
you were told you could leave and come back and get stuff.
And I said, look, I'm going across right there to the gas station to get gas and ice and come right back. Can I leave and come back? And
you're asking this to the police officer at the blockade in Ma'alaya on the Poly, right there after the Poly. Okay.
Yep. So I went there, got my gas, got right back in line to come back, and they blocked us off and said nobody can go to the west side.
So the same officer that just said you could come back allowed you to go get your supplies, but you just went to the gas station right there in Ma'alaya.
He got orders. I'm not saying it was his fault.
Yeah, but I'm saying
he got orders. And
danger zone. It gets worse when we find out that people were running from flames and jumping into the ocean to escape them. And I personally know somebody who spent 8 hours in the water before she was picked up by Coast Guard. And she is one of hundreds, if not thousands. And the media is saying that there's only, at this moment, 36 people that have lost their lives. And it hurts me to say that I don't believe this is true at all. I've heard first-hand accounts from family on the west side, from friends on the west side, from response crews that they are tagging hundreds of bodies. There are hundreds of bodies in the water. The death toll could be well over 400 just at this very point that I make this video. And they are not letting coverage into Lahaina. We have friends that went to the entrance of the poly to try to bring generators and water and supplies, shovels, things. Everyone was turned around. No one is able to bring help. We have thousands of volunteers that want to get into Lahaina and bring assistance for people. And we are not allowed to. Our friends and our family are right around this corner. And we are not allowed to go help them. Why? Yes, they just started taking in boats. They started taking evacuees in the cover of the night. But why are we turning down help? Why would FEMA do that? Why would the Red Cross do that?
Now, Pete, I can tell you that, to my knowledge, we here at Fox are the only national media in West Maui. West Maui is isolated physically and in terms of information from the rest of the world. Cell service is rough, and the only reason we got here is that, as you know, my family's been here for something like 40 years, and we have property here to get through the security checkpoints. In fact, Pete, the mayor of Maui yesterday tried to kick us out of West Maui, saying it's a media-free zone. It's not. There is a First Amendment, there's a United States Constitution, and this is America.
So this is actually what's happening in Maui right now that a lot of people are not talking about, and it's very sad. So recently, Hawaiian officials just passed a law, listen to this, that does not allow new development on Hawaiian land unless it's a natural disaster. So then guess what happens? The laser beams, the natural disaster happens, which allows the new developers to come in and to legally buy the land at a discounted price. And the government knew this. They put in the loophole, unless a natural disaster happens, it then happens. Developers get discounted land, and who gets screwed? The people. And now what's being reported is that the insurance companies are now trying to get out of paying out the Hawaiians due to zoning infractions, which we know is a bunch of baloney. So we have the insurance companies getting out of having to pay due to zoning infractions. We have the government that put in the loophole that the developers now can buy the land legally at a discounted price. And who gets screwed? We, the people. This is why the government needs to get smaller, and they need to get their hands out of everything, including our insurance.
My name is Chris Menka, born and raised on Molokai. The night of the fire, I was watching the news and saw a lot of footage. And it wasn't until the internet footage started coming in at about 1 o'clock in the morning that I saw people basically jumping in the water, running away from the fires. I thought to myself that I've got a lot of good friends and family that live there, and some of them live on the boats. I couldn't sleep the whole night. The next morning I woke up, I told my wife, I gotta go. I packed up and I head out. I got some supplies, whatever I could grab, water, food. I headed over there to help with whatever was gonna go on. And when I showed up, it was horrific. It was terrifying. It put me back. I sat down, I cried for a while. When I pulled up, the town was still on fire. The response from the state, DLNR, was non-present in the water. My first priority was to get there and help with whatever I could help with. My second priority, I put out on the internet that if there were any families in need of getting off Maui and coming back to Molokai, I set a date and time and place, and you meet me there, I'll get you home. The people that I did bring home said that they had a hard time with the internet, so my message wasn't received by all. The second day, I told my wife, put out the word, I'm coming back again. And this time I was gonna go outside of the zone to Oluwalu's where they had set up the roadblock and bring people back from there. And when I got there that day, I brought home a few people and I took back a few tourists to their hotels. They were trapped, they couldn't get back in. They wanted to go home because a lot of the hotels in Wailea were gouging. They were paying like $700 a night. This guy was so cool that he took in 2 families with him. He put 9 people in the room with him. I had no problem taking him back to his hotel, getting him going. I also took in supplies for people. What I couldn't understand is that why did we have to bring supplies with the boats? Why did we have to transport supplies from Ma'alaya to Kahana by boat when everything was on trucks waiting at the roadblock to get in? When we delivered the next day, that night, I get a call from my friend Kamaili Alkan. He tells me he's got 9 pallets of food to go to the Kahana. So we took over 9 pallets of food, water, supplies. Where was the county? Where was the state? Where was the Red Cross? There was no aid for the people there. First day, second day, third day, nobody shows up. I'm still running supplies in. By the 4th day, they open up the road. I come home, I say, great. And at the same time, they shut the road down again, stopping supplies from coming in. I heard a story about a person that they loaded up the containers, and containers of food and supplies did reach Lahaina by the 2nd day, I think it was. But somehow, the Red Cross put a stop on it. So the containers were just sitting there at a hotel in Ka'anapali. The guy who found out put it out on the internet and told the people there, hey, you suffering, go get it. Don't wait, go get it. So I guess that's how some of the lootings started, but it's understandable. Molokai, we're all about action. More action, less words. Politicians, more about words than action. Sometimes too much education, you lose common sense along the way, and it's true. Common sense tell you at the roadblock, cars showing up, trucks showing up, loaded down with supplies. Common sense tell you, let them through. Give them an escort, let them through. But nope, they stopped everything, bruh. So for 4 days, bruh, no food, no water, no supplies, no help. All they wanted you to do was leave. But as you know, in disaster areas, when they come in and they want you to leave, you go to a shelter. FEMA, Red Cross comes in, helps you, gives you money, and you move on. People never return back. So a lot of the Hawaiians don't want to leave, bro. They don't want to leave. They know what's going to happen. Big money, real estate, going to come in, offer them money. They'll never come back. Some days I did up to 2 boat trips, but most of them I just stayed there and helped along the way, shuttling food and supplies from Ma'alaya, where they had the roadblock into Kahana, into the danger zone. Yes, it was all out of my own pocket. I'm not even worried about being paid back or anything. I'll go as long as I could. And then my wife I put it out there that, you know, I can do more if people help me with gas. And a lot of people started donating money for gas. And some people from the mainland, I never even know, just donated. So that was awesome. It was local people with family and friends in Lahaina that banded together. Kamaili Alkan, the Mana'e boys. Big shout out to the Mana'e boys, bro. We seen Friendly Market donate. Everybody just pulled together because a lot of friends and family, all in Lahaina. All I want to say about donations, that if you guys want to donate, don't donate to the Red Cross. Don't donate to organizations out there that think they're going to help. Donate to the local people there. There are people there that are starting their own shelters and taking care of the people there. If you want to see your money go to the people of Lahaina, the Hawaiians, the locals, and not to some politician's pocket, donate to the grassroots foundations of Lahaina.
Thank you. My name is Spike Cohen. I don't recall the First Amendment coming with a 3-minute time limit, but that's okay. I shouldn't even need that long. I'm here to speak on behalf of Erica Brown and Be Kind, Be Great, and all of the other residents of your community who are out helping people as they're being told by the city government that there's a problem with that. We've heard, Howard, you were one of them, we've heard some of you on the news saying that they're creating a hazard and that they're making a mess. And yet, when Be Kind, Be Great goes out and feeds people, they leave the place cleaner than they found it. You called them a nuisance. I don't think a person helping another person and giving them food is a nuisance. I think when someone shows up and lies about them and threatens them with fines or jail time, I think that's a nuisance. Now, what wasn't mentioned in your declaration about the plan that you're offering, what you didn't mention is it comes with fees. So you're now telling people who out of the goodness of their own heart are trying to help members of your community in need that before they can spend a single penny to give a single morsel to someone who needs it, they got to pay you off first. Now, I don't think the single one of you outside of your capacity as a government official, I don't think a single one of you, if you were on the other side of this dais, would dare to go out there to someone who's feeding someone else and say, this is a nice little charity you got here. Be a real shame if something were to happen to it. Maybe if you do it the way I tell you to and you give me a little piece of it, I'll let you keep doing it. And maybe if not, we'll have some trouble. I don't think a single one of you would do that. I don't think any of you are sociopaths. I don't think any of you are protection racketeers or mobsters. I think what happens is you get on that side of the table and you tell yourself that you're just doing your jobs. Well, if that were actually true, then your jobs are objectively evil. You should quit them and find something better to do. I don't think that's your job. I think you can choose to do your job differently and treat them with the same level of respect that you treat them with on this side of the table. And so what I'm here proposing, and this might sound crazy, is for you to act on that side of the dais as you would on this side of the dais and let people help people who are in need. Whichever you choose, I'm going to make sure, as I do in cities across the country, that millions of people know what you chose. I hope that the thousands upon thousands of those who contact you about it will be congratulating you on choosing to be a hero and not giving their thoughts on you, instead being a nuisance. See you soon.
How is this possible? If you've seen this video, there's a whole foreshore of mansions untouched, but the whole rest of the town completely disintegrated. Now look at these houses. That doesn't happen from a bushfire. That doesn't happen from a natural disaster. So you've all seen what's going on. You know that the elites have knowingly set Maui on fire to build their smart city. This is what they've been talking about. If something doesn't come from this, if the people don't get together after this, this is murder. This is tyranny. This is crimes against humanity. They've killed people. They've taken people's livelihoods knowingly, and people know that. If nothing comes from this, and people don't come together and fucking win and riot and overcome these fucking putrid scumbag elites, I'm done. If nothing comes from this, we're the softest society to ever live on the face of the earth, and we deserve everything we get. Stand the fuck up and let's fight.